So today we are going to look at classes in JavaScript, okay? Therefore, we'll create a file named classes.js, okay? So this is our file, and then I'll go inside index.html, and then I reference classes.js, which is our file, okay? Classes.js. So I'll come to this file. So today we are going to look at classes, basically a concept known as OOP, which is the object-oriented programming. Okay. This basically uses a concept of classes and objects. Whenever you're programming, everything is looked at in form of classes and objects. Okay, that is OOP. Of course, it has its advantages. You must have looked at those advantages. It has concepts, of course, or principles like inheritance, like polymorphism, stuff like encapsulation, stuff like abstraction. These are the most common. If you got some other languages, you meet some stuff like message passing, etc. But these are the most common principles for OOP. So just like other programming languages, JavaScript also is object-oriented. So other programming languages that are object-oriented, you have Python, you have Java, you have C#, you have C++, okay, etc. So now when we talk about classes, we are looking at a concept called OOP, object-oriented programming language. Object-oriented programming, which is a paradigm anyway. It's a paradigm. It's a programming paradigm, and it uses a concept of classes and objects. So everything, it models, the world. For example, the world in form of classes and objects. So remember, when you're programming, you're literally translating what happens in our environment. Okay. If someone is doing their business, you're literally translating that into source code or into software programs which will help those businesses. So for object-oriented programming paradigm, it models whatever business context or whatever space you are in form of classes and objects. So we are going to look at how do we create classes in JavaScript, how do we instantiate, or how do we create objects. Okay, so we go straight. Now, to create a class in JavaScript, maybe if I can put a syntax first, is that you use the keyword called class, then you put the class name, then you open the curly brackets, then you put the members of a class, okay? Members of a class. Now, if you're new to OOP, members of a class are normally two. One, we have what we call data members, and also what we call member functions. Now, data members are specific, are just attributes, and member functions are behaviors of the class, okay? Or what you can call operations. Now, we are going to use, let's say, an example. If you want to create a class called animal, so you say class animal. Please note that class names are nouns. Okay, they are nouns, and they are normally singular. Don't say class animals. No, class animal. And we are saying that a class has members. Okay, data members and member functions. Of course, there's what we call a constructor. Classes have what we call constructors, and constructors are used to initialize objects. Of a class. Now, an object, if I've not talked about an object, so I'm going to talk about very many things, but I hope you. An object is basically an instance of a class. Okay, is an instance of a what? Of a class. If you have a class called person, an object would be Simon, would be Samuel. Those are objects of class person. Now we are saying that this one is a constructor. A constructor is a special method that is used to initialize, okay, objects of a class. Objects of the class. Now, from your previous, experiences in programming, for example, Java, its constructor is basically has the same name as the class name. But in JavaScript, we don't have that. You just use the keyword constructor, and that will act as your constructor, which is to initialize objects. Now, by default, a constructor is there, and it's a default one. Even if I don't put it there, that's a default constructor. It is always there, and that's what you use to instantiate. Instantiation is basically the process of creating objects from a class. Now, if I have this constructor, assume we've said that it is to initialize objects of the class. So, and these objects, remember, they have attributes, data members. Assume an animal. Animals have names. They have color. They have this you can't remember this, but in case you remember, maybe age, or breed, okay, or breed. So these are some of the attributes. So we are saying to initialize. In this case, we can see that the constructor is taking in 3 attributes. That's name, color, and breed as the parameters. Of course, it's not a must that you must take in these parameters. You can have a default constructor which has no parameters, So in order to initialize, remember we're saying we initialize, and we are initializing the objects using the values which are passed via the constructor. Now to initialize, we will say this this dot name equals name, okay, then this dot color equals color, then this dot breed equals breed, okay, meaning that that whatever value that will be passed in the constructor for the animal will be the name of the animal, and whatever will be passed as the color will be the name of the color of the animal, and whatever is passed as the breed will be the breed of the animal. Now, in order to instantiate, how do we instantiate? First of all, you create a variable, okay? You would say let instantiate, maybe syntax. You say let, you can even use if you want, variable name, then equals new, then class name, okay, then you put the parenthesis. Now what you put here, remember, is the constructor. When you say class name brackets, here you're calling the constructor of the class. But you see, if we write this, it means that this class has a constructor, but with no parameters in the constructor. Literally default constructor. A default constructor is the one which is similar, something like that, okay? Constructor, something like this, okay? That's a default constructor. It has no parameters passed. So if it was like this, then you would call your constructor when you're creating an object like this. Now in this case, it is not a variable name. In this case, it is object name, okay? Because you're instantiating new, then class name. So in this case, you're instantiating, creating an object. So this is object name, not variable name. So in this case, we have our animal and the constructor. Our constructor is like this. Now, if I want to create an object for the animal, I can say maybe animal object, then I say I'm now instantiating, trying to create an object. You say new class name. Class name, what is the class name? it is animal, but it takes in how many in the constructor, because here what we've called here is the constructor for this animal. Okay, but we see the constructor takes in name, color, and breed. So we can say animal is cow, color is black, maybe breed is what a breed. I don't know if that's the breed or whatever. I'm just using my random strings. You can use anything. Okay, so that is it. Here we've created an object for the animal called animal object. You can name it anything you want. We can print the color of the animal. For example, you can say the animal, the name of the animal, is, and then we come here and we say animal object, then dot. So you can see if you see these three, we can access those values: name, breed, color, which are the data members. So we can come here and say name. So in order not to, I'll just copy this, and then I say the color of the animal is dot color, and then I say the breed of the animal is dot breed. Okay, so we should say the name of the animal is cow, the color of the animal is black, and the breed of the animal is ankware. So if you come here, did we reference? Yes, the name of the animal is cow, the color of the animal is black, the color of the animal is black, the breed of the animal is ankware. Now this one we don't need to put space here. You can have default values. Assume in this other constructor you put age. When you do this and you come and look at this, you realize that it still runs, but our constructor has let me first do this dot age equals age. Okay, so you see that we've passed another parameter to the constructor, which is age, but this one is taking in 3. What do I want to showcase? That you can have a constructor but with default values. Assume the default value is 20 as its age, or even 5. So here we don't need to pass the value, because by default it will be, we are passing default parameters to the constructor. So here you can have something like this. Okay, so here we don't need to pass in a value, meaning that it's optional. Why? Is because the age, which is a parameter or the attribute for the animal, has a default value as 5. So if we print, we have 5. Okay, because by default that's the age of the animal is 5. But assume we come and here we pass, then whatever value that we shall pass here will override the default value for age, and so the default the age of the animal in this case will be 12. So now I have put that to showcase or to demonstrate that you can have default parameters in the constructor, just like we saw the other time in methods. So that's it. Then I said that a class has members, one data members, which are the attributes, for example, that we've looked at, and also member functions. Member functions. Now, member functions are literally functions of a class or behaviors of a class. And what are some of the behaviors of animals? We represent behaviors as methods in OOP. So animals move. So we saw that if you were to create a method in JavaScript, you use the keyword function, then you put the function name, and then you put something like this. We saw, if we go back to functions here, you will see it's basically what we looked at: function, then the function name, the parenthesis, and this, and then the body. But now when it comes to classes, you don't need to prefix the name with function. You don't have to. Okay, you just put the function name, parenthesis, and then the body. And if the function has parameters, you can put them. So So you can say console.log, and then we say this dot name animal moves. Okay, so this is a function. You don't prefix it with the keyword function just like we saw the other time, unless you're creating it out. If you're creating outside class, it is okay, but if you're creating a function within a class, then you don't have to prefix it. We don't prefix it with function. Now we can come here. We also call our method move, but we must call it using the object name, which is animal object. So how do we do it? We come here and say animal object dot. You see, if I say dot, already there is this function. It pops up amongst the members of a class. So even they show you that return type is void, just that in this case we don't have. So in this case, if I say animal object dot move, it will say what is the name? It's cow. They will say cow moves. A cow moves. Okay. So we also have that. Okay. If I come and I refresh, you see a cow moves, but that has been printed by calling our function or method within this class called animal. Okay. If you want, you can pass parameters. So you know, we can say print favorite food. Okay, and then we say food. Okay, and then we say console.log, and then I say this dot name, which is the name of the animal. I say likes whatever will be passed as the food type. Okay, what do animals like? So in this case, I've created the method which is called print favorite food, which will print what the animal or a cow, whatever that animal likes eating. So you can say then dot print favorite food, then we pass in the food. Okay, and maybe we say grass. Okay, so in this case, it will, remember now I'm trying to show you that you can have parameters passed into the method. Now our method is the first one, which is move, never had parameters, but this print favorite food has a parameter, one parameter, which is food, and this method will print console.log this dot name likes whatever food is passed. So this will have to print cow likes grass. Okay, cow likes grass. So that's how you can have a method. You can have as many as many as methods you can. For example, you can say calculate or return date of birth. Return date of birth. Okay, return calculate DOB, meaning date of birth of the cow. We have its age, which is this one, this dot age. So we can say current year maybe 2025 minus this dot age, but we must return it. In this case, I want to show you that you can return a value. So this calculate the date of birth is returning when the cow was born. Okay, so we can come here and say console.log, then we say our animal. How do we access the name of the animal? In this case, we use obj.name, then we say was born in, and then we say animal object, which is animal obj dot calculate date of birth. Okay, so calculate date of birth is the method that we've created in our class, but in this case it is returning a value. I remember Uthman in the last session was asking what's the difference by just saying console.log and return. Return is a value, but this one just prints. So in this case, we return a single value. Okay, so which will be the year when the cow was born. 2025 minus this dot age. This dot age is the value which is passed in the constructor. Now for our cow, this one we passed 12. Okay, this is its age. When date of birth, we expect that they will say the cow was born in that will be 2013. Yes, 2013. Okay, something like that. Okay, so you say cow was born in 2013. So That's basically how you can create methods and the attributes. Now, if you look at this, you see that we can access these attributes outside. These attributes outside the class, because remember the class stops here. If you look at this, whatever we are instantiating outside the class. Now there is what we call the getter and setter methods. Okay, these ones help us in enforcing security or in making sure that data members are private, particularly attributes. And the concept, the principle of OOP that is promoted is encapsulation. Okay, so if you want to make for example, if you want to create attributes and you make them private in JavaScript, you prefix them prefix attribute names with a hash. Okay, it means when you say, for example, eg hash name, you're making name, which is the attribute of whatever class you've created, private. Let's create one example. If we have a class called person, people have names. Okay, so if we want to make the name of that person private, let's say use age, we can say in this case we can, name of the person is not private. Name are not usually private, these are normally public, but most people always want to make their age private. Okay, so we can leverage that example. So if we want to make age private, we say hash age. Okay, then when we are creating a constructor, and maybe our constructor takes in name and age, okay, we shall say that this dot name equals name, which is the name of the person that will be passed via the constructor. But for the age, you see we have it here above here, but for it we made it private by prefixing it with hash. So we say this dot hash age equals age. It means that, you see, hash, by prefixing this attribute age with hash, it means it's a private field. And so we are saying this dot hash equals age, meaning it is private. So let's add in like a method. I've shown you how to add methods, but I'm very sure that you've understood. Maybe human beings eat. Okay, so you can say console.log. You say normal people or persons like eating twice a day. I don't know if that's normal or not. I'm just using my random English. So the most important thing I wanted to show you is by having a private fields. Age is a private field. Now, if you want to instantiate, we said you go outside the class, you create maybe an object which is person. In this case, you should note the difference. This object name, which is person, starts with lowercase p, but the class name starts with capital P. So you need to make sure that they are different. Then equals new person. Now, age, the constructor takes in the name. Okay, so we can say Samuel. Okay, then age. Okay, we are passing age, maybe 25. So assume Samuel is the one who enters this information. Now, if we say console.log, and then we say the name of the person is, and then we say person, which is lowercase dot. Now, you see, I want you to see what has popped up. What has popped up is only it and name. Why? And even though we have age, the reason is because it is the function which is public, and we also have Name is also public, but we don't have age. Why? Is because age is private. But assume I remove this and then I also put this. If I come, I say person dot, you will see age also appearing. Why? Because now it's public. When an attribute is made private, just like we had done here, age, and then we say this hash age, then you cannot access it outside the class. You can only access it through the getter method, okay, by making sure that you have the setter and getter methods. So in this case, we can only say dot name, or the attempt to access age. If we say the age of the person is person.age, we must see an error because age, you cannot access it directly on the class because it is made private. So if you come and refresh, you see that the age of the person is undefined. Okay? Even though you passed here 25. Why? Because it's private. Assume I remove this and I also remove this. Then we should be able to access the age of the person is 25. Let's go there and see. You can see the age of the person is 25. But when you prefix it with a hash, it means that you've made that field private. And so you can only access that attribute or that information with setter and getter method. So for getter method, you write it by using get. Then you write the attribute or the function or the setter, the getter name, the method name. So you can say this. Now the get, for it returns a value. So we have to say it returns this dot age because we have to access it using this getter method. If you want to set it, you say set age, and then you say, now in this case we are setting. So if you are setting, you must make sure that you pass in an attribute, which is the new age, for example. So you set, you say this dot age, then equals the new age. So in this case, we are using the setter and the getter method. For the getter method, you write get, then the name. For the setter method, you use set, then the name of the setter. It is not a must that it must be age. You can say get age or whatever, okay? So, if you come, we can now get the age instead of this. Because now if we print, we are going to see undefined. Did we make it private again? Oh, now we can access it because we have this getter method. We get this one is a getter method. Getter method is used to set values for private fields. So the reason as to why this one is showing 25 is because now we have a getter method. Let me show you. If we comment out these ones and then we run, we will have undefined. Why? Because it is private. The attribute is private, but you can only access that information if you write the getter and the setter methods in your class. As you can see now, we can access 25 even when the attribute is private. Why? Because we've written a getter method which helps us to return the value. Okay, and we've also written set, which is to set the value. You can change the age. Now if I come and say person dot age equals 80, okay, now if we are printing, the value will not be 25, it will be 80 because we've changed it. And so what is helping us? It is this set method. Now if you come to the console, you will see 80. The age of the person is 80 because we are now using the setter method to set this field which is private, which is age. You look at, if I comment out this, I want you to see something. Do you notice that this one is in gray? This set after set, this one, you see this one, line 70, age. It is like it because the two methods are not called. But let me comment out this. You see what has happened? It has now changed the color, which indicates that it has already been called. It's like when I when I call this method it will also change from I think gray or black to this blue. I believe it's blue. So we come and say person dot it. Okay, we are calling the it method using the object, and you can see that it has also changed the color. And when we print, we should have that method that normal human beings, normal persons eat, like eating twice a day. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you the on the getter and setter methods. There is in encapsulation. Encapsulation is used in enforcing security, where you make the attributes private, just like we've seen on Edge. But you see, for name is public. That's why for it here, it's not prefixed with hash. If I say hash name, okay, and then I do this hash name, then I've made the name private, okay. And so to access it, I must also make sure that I write the setter and getter methods, okay. If we run this, then we should find that the name is undefined, okay. You see, now you see in this case, now we are getting a very good error, syntax error. Private field name must be declared in enclosing class, so meaning that you cannot access it outside that class. So how do we make sure that we have can access this name outside this class? It is by creating the setter and getter method. So in this case, we shall come and say get name, and then we say return this dot hash name, okay. Then we also write the setter method in case we want to use it, name, which will be used in setting the new name, and then we say this dot hash name equals new name, okay. If now we run this, this is supposed to be a method here. If we run this, then we should be able to access the name of the person even when Edge is private. So if you come and refresh, you see that now we have the name of the person as Samuel, even though the name is private. Why? Because we've accessed the name using the getter method that we've written, okay. It's not a must that you must have both setter and getter. You can have one, but if you know that you're going to change this, it's important to make sure that you have both of them. Okay, so that's another item I wanted us to look at. Creating objects, creating classes, creating constructors, and initializing values, both public and private, just like we've seen, including methods. Then what else? Yes, so far we are at this. Next, we can look at inheritance. I believe you've ever heard of inheritance. Inheritance, it is a concept where a subclass, okay, where a subclass acquires attributes or operations of the parent class or superclass, okay. Now, if you didn't know about these things, another term for subclass is called child class, okay. Another one is called derived class. Now, these terms, there is a way they go hand in hand. If you say subclass, then then its corresponding class is superclass. Then if you use child class, then it is parent class, okay. If it is derived class, then it is base class, okay. Now, what do I say when you say inheritance? That it's a concept where a child class acquires attributes of a parent class. It's you assume you acquired the color of your dad. You acquired the color. Color is an attribute. or you acquired the behaviors. Your dad is a footballer, a very good one, and you're also a footballer. So you can say that you inherited some behaviors. Now, behavior, I hope you differentiate between behaviors and and attributes. Color is not a behavior, but it's an attribute. But behaviors, if your dad likes drinking and you're also a good drunkard, we can say you inherited. There are those instances where in your family, but where did this man learn drinking from? His grandfather was a very good drunkard. Eh? So that is what we call what? That is what we call inheritance. They start tracing back. Why did this guy get the drinking habit? Eh? They start tracing back. So that is inheritance. Now, so we are going to look at an example. Let me see. Okay, we can create a new class maybe called vehicle. Okay, vehicles. We can create a constructor. Vehicles have color, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they do. Vehicles travel at a certain speed. Okay, and you know they have maximum speed because they have varying maximum speeds. So you can say this dot color equals color. Then this dot speed equals speed. Then this dot maximum speed equals speed. Okay, something like this. Now all vehicles move. Okay, so we can create a method which is called move, and then we say console dot log, and then we say moving at the speed. Okay, maybe this dot speed. Okay, this dot speed, which is basically this. Now this is the first color. This is the first class, which is like our parent class. We have different. What am I doing? I'm doing a lot of Python, so I'm starting my thing, my comments with a hash. So this is what we call a parent class of what we've called the super class. Now we can create a sub class which inherits. Python is all over. We say a sub class. Now for the sub class, still it's also a class. Maybe a car. A car is a vehicle. Now, if it is a vehicle, it means it inherits attributes and methods of vehicle. Okay, so if it inherits, you use a keyword called extends. I think extends for people who are doing Java or who have done Java, we also use extends. For people who are doing or who did C++, we use full colon. Yeah, so I think that applies to Python. So extends, then we say vehicle, meaning that a car is a vehicle, or it extends it inherits what is in the vehicle class. Now, for the constructor of the car, we can also make sure that it has maybe color. A car has color. It has speed or current speed. It has maximum speed. It has how much fuel it consumes. Now we use the super class to call, okay, to call the constructor of the parent class, which is vehicle, its constructor. Okay, so that's what we use super, because if you extend, it means you need to call its what? Its constructor. Now here we can say this dot. Now for color, for super class, super is used to call the constructor of the parent class. But our parent class has a constructor which has color, speed, and maximum speed. So in this case, the constructor of car is also taking in color, speed, maximum speed, and fuel. But this one is also taking in color, speed, and maximum speed. Okay, it's not a must that you must put them in the same order. You can alter. If this one, you can say speed, you can say color, and then you say maximum speed. It does not necessarily mean they must be the same order. So you see that for vehicle, its constructor takes in color, speed, maximum speed, but this one takes in speed, color, maximum speed, fuel. So if you say super, you're calling the constructor for the parent class, but the constructor for the parent class takes in the attributes in the order of color, speed, and what? Maximum speed. So here we shall say color, which is this one. Then the next one is speed, and it's not a must that it must be the same. You can say underscore. I don't want you to cram. Even this one. And then this one. Okay. So here we anyway. My idea was it's not the same. Does not mean that they must be the what? The same. You can change the naming. That's why I was putting underscore. So it is taking in color, speed, and then maximum speed. So we can come and put maximum speed. Okay. Then we can also have the constructor for this. Now the only attribute that has not been assigned, because this one will be assigned by the parent. The color, speed, and maximum speed have been assigned or initialized through the parent constructor. But for fuel, since the vehicle, the parent class does not take in attribute for fuel, then we can initialize it ourselves here by saying this dot fuel equals fuel. Okay, meaning that there are attributes which might apply to a car, they are not in the parent class. Also, a car might also have its own methods that are not necessarily in this class, in the parent class. Okay, so we can create a method, maybe accelerate. Okay, and then we say console.log the car can say cars accelerate. So this is what we call inheritance, in a sense that you have a child class which is car. It is inheriting from the parent class which is vehicle, and we inherit using extends keyword. When a subclass extends or inherits from or acquires inherits from the parent class, it has access to the attributes, to the members basically within the parent class. Okay. The super, I've said the super is used to call the constructor of the parent class. And you can see the constructor for the parent class, which is vehicle, takes in color, speed, and maximum speed, as you can see. So we can now create the object for the car. We can say car equals new car. And what does it take in? It takes in color, speed. So I can say 35.8. Then or 100. Some of you like over speeding. Color maybe it is silver. You should input these values the way they consider in the constructor. And speed, color, maximum speed. The maximum speed is 200. Then fuel, maybe 20 liters. Okay. So now we have created an object for the car. In this case, you can come and print the values. I can say the speed of the car is, and then you come here and say car dot. In this case, we are looking at speed. Then for others, I will not waste time. I will just do this and also this. From speed, we have the color. Then we have the maximum speed. Then the next is the fuel consumption. So here we put the color, then here we put the speed, the max speed, then here we put the fuel. Now you see, we can also call methods, okay? We can say car dot accelerate, okay? Because this method accelerate is within the car class. But we can also call move, even though it is in the vehicle, not in the car. Why? It is because this car is this child class car is extending vehicle, which means it also has access to the attributes and the methods. So in this case, we can come here and we can say car dot move, even though it is not in the car. Why? Because it is extending the parent class vehicle, which has this move method. As you can see, if we print here, we shall have access to our information. You can say the speed of the car is that, the color of the car is silver, the maximum speed of the car is that, the fuel consumption of the car is 20, the cars can accelerate moving at 100.8. Yeah, so that's basically what we call inheritance, okay? You have a subclass inheriting members of parent class using extends keyword. And here if we didn't use this, we would have to say this dot speed equals speed. But what is the purpose of this, since we already the vehicle is already having these attributes? So you just use super, you pass them, then the constructor for the parent class will help us in initializing those attributes. So that is inheritance. Last but not least, we are going to look at what we call prototype. Okay, now prototype is every class has Python is everywhere. Yeah, okay, supposed to be this one. Prototype is used to create like objects, okay, and use this prototype keyword on the name of the class. You can create new attributes, new attributes or properties. Remember, attributes are also called properties. So you can create new properties of a class using prototype keyword on a class. You can also create new functions on a class using prototype. An example is, if we have car, you say car dot prototype. Okay. Yeah, it must be the name of the class, not the object. So it's car dot prototype. Then I can add more. You see, if you look at the attributes of this class, it has speed, color, maximum speed, and fuel. But I can say I can use this prototype on the name of the class to add more attributes and methods. Okay, so I can say dot maybe year or brand or model of the car. So maybe it's a Toyota something. Toyota, maybe, yes. Toyota's is that model brand, whatever. Okay, then you can also add car dot prototype dot year of manufacture. I'm adding more attributes that were not initially on the class, maybe 2015. Okay, I can also add more functions dot prototype dot name of the function that we can add. What else do cars do? Make sound. Okay, make sound. Then I say equals, then function. I don't know who remembers this type of function in JavaScript. If you know the name of this function that I've created with type of function, you can unmute and tell us what type of function is this. Then I say console.log. You can say cars beep. Okay, so just like I accessed these attributes and methods, I can also do the same here. I say the brand of the car is car dot. See, if I say dot, you see brand is already part of the attributes. If you look at that, make sound is also a function. You can also look at that. Okay, So I can say brand. Why? Because we use this prototype property on the class to add a new attribute or property of the class. So the year of manufacture of the class is the year of manufacture. Then you can also call the method by saying car. Remember, the car was the object. Now you don't use the class name, but you access members using the object. So we can say make sound, as you can see. So if we come and run, we should be able to see those values. That the brand of the car is Toyota, the year of manufacture 2015, cars beep. Okay, yeah. So those are classes, or that's object-oriented programming. That's how you create classes. That's how you add attributes. That's how you add methods or behaviors. That's how you make properties or attributes private, and they have shown you how you can access them using the get and setter methods. I've shown you how you can demonstrate inheritance, and that's how you can also use the prototype property on classes to add more attributes and methods.